Alright, welcome to another episode of the Discovery Podcast, and I'm your usual host, Presenter Chishimba, and here with me is my co-host,
Lumba Kayla Chivue. It's good to be back, Presenter. Home is always home.
Exactly. We are very happy to having you guys join us on today's podcast as we embark. We are more than thrilled to have you guys join us as we embark on this journey. Our guest of today is Mr. Cosmas Chongo Mulenga, who is one of the youngest Diamond TV presenters. Mm-hmm. Thank you for joining us on this show today.
Thank you very much.
Are you looking for one-stop shop for all your beauty and grooming needs? Look no further than Hair Tenor Beauty Parlor. Located at 1315 Chimoya Close in Avondale. We offer a wide range of services for men, women, and kids. From salon services like haircuts, pedicures, and massages, to a restaurant and a chill pub grill for relaxation, we've got you covered. And the best part, our prices are affordable. Call us now at 0972 16 7218 or 0976 05 9273 to book your appointment. Hair Tenor Beauty Parlor, where beauty meets affordability. Where beauty meets affordability.
Please, Mr. Cosmas, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, where should I start from? I think let me start off with what I do. I'm a journalist by profession, and I'm also a TV host. Currently working for Diamond TV as the youngest employee, as you highlighted earlier. And I enjoy what I do, and basically that's what I do for a living.
All right. So, what sparked your interest in storytelling and journalism?
Right. So this is something that has been in me for quite some time. I just didn't realize that it might turn into this way. Yeah. And that's because growing up, I've always been a communicator. And that could be even in school, primary school, could be in class. I was privileged to, have certain, leadership roles. And every time you needed to communicate with, your classmates, you needed to communicate with your school. And so it was through all that, sparked my interest of communication. And, later on, I completed school and then came into, the Diamond TV presenter search. And during that process, I really fell more in love with, storytelling, because one of our challenges was actually to tell a story about one of just any idea that you could come up with. And that was where I think I really fell in love with storytelling. And from that point, I told myself that I needed to learn and become the best at it.
Yeah, learning is very important.
Exactly, learning is very important. What shaped your career path in terms of journalism? What made you get interest in storytelling?
All right, so basically what made me get more interest in storytelling is having an opportunity to listen to various stories of different people. And growing up, I had the privilege of, interacting with people who were older than me. And basically, when you're with people older than you, they're going to help by telling you their stories and helping you, highlighting some of the mistakes that they made that they wouldn't want you to repeat. And so it is through that I got the interest of listening to people's stories. And it's always that sometimes you never know even, the most interesting part about somebody until you hear their story. And that always ignited, the interest of me, trying to find out more about people and hearing their stories. And having the privilege of getting into, the media space, I realized that I could actually, bring an impact to people's lives by telling their stories. And in the sector that I'm in, which is the sports sector, you find various, people that have very unique stories. Let me talk about, one of the, the world's currently, most expensive female player. That's Rachel Kundananji. Yeah. She started off on on a very, low notch. You couldn't even imagine she would be, the most prized, athlete or footballer in the world when it comes to female football. And so it's such stories, hearing how she started off, hearing how she overcame some challenges and some of, her achievements that bring, out the most interesting part about, storytelling and just an impact that it could have on somebody else who could also be passing through the same. So that really sparked the interest.
Indeed. So would you say that your upbringing also shaped who you are, maybe the family, or who was your role model in terms of storytelling and you becoming a journalist?
Okay, so earlier I said, even before I began to tell stories, I was a communicator.
Okay.
And there were a few people that I really looked up to when it came to, communicating. And I was a debater back in high school. You could look up to people that really spoke well and analyzed issues very well. By then, I really fell in love with, how Barack Obama was expressing himself. And I really looked at how he used to present himself, how he used to communicate. And one of his, campaigns, actually, he told his story of, where he grew up from. And that actually made people fall in love with him. And so it's all that really, built, that interest. But at that particular point, I didn't realize until later on now that I'm, when I look back and realize to say, this actually started way back. It's not just happening because it like a surprise, but it's always been building up to something. Yes.
Okay, so before we go any further, it's about you, right? So we want the audience out there, because we have been having questions and anonymous messages from different type of people. Mm-hmm. So the question reads, hide my ID. Why do men pretend to be rich towards his girl but keep begging his friends for money? What would your response be on that question?
Wait, I'll ask you to repeat the question.
Okay. Why do men pretend to be rich towards his girl, but keeps begging his friends for money?
Okay, I think really, first of all, I would say the pressure that comes with basically having or putting yourself where you aren't at the moment and maybe your status in life. I think honesty comes in first. If you're honest with a person on where you currently stand, it could be, financially, in the case that you've put it. I think you will not be able to pretend. If the person asks for something and you don't have, you just have to mention it. Okay. And if you're working towards, getting a better status in life, you have to highlight that. Say, currently I'm not able to provide, but I'm working towards something. And so if you're able to stick and maybe ride along, if you believe in my vision, then you could. But I think that's why people do pretend. But it's not very good, because it puts you in very awkward positions. You could get into debt, actually. Mm-hmm. And so honesty, I think, is really, really important. Once you explain your current status, if the person understands, then better for you. But if they don't, it's good that, you respect, or they respect your honesty, I think, that way.
Okay, so do you think it's a healthy relationship, your boyfriend having to hide away that you are not financially, or he's not financially stable, and he's hiding it away from you? Can you call that a healthy relationship?
I wouldn't really call it a full healthy relationship, because then honesty is not part of it, and somebody is having stress. The guy will always have to think about how he's going to provide, even when he doesn't have. So when he's honest and he actually, talks about where he currently stands, I think that then will give him the peace of mind, because I think that's the purpose of, a relationship, and one of the purposes, actually, because the girlfriend has to provide comfort, and he also needs to feel at peace when he's with her and not feel even more stressful. Then I think there should be a problem there.
Yeah. I think our audience have heard, and let's remember to be honest with our relationships, because that's the key. Honesty. Over to you, Presensha.
Yes, so my question is, how do you feel being the youngest presenter? Like, how does it feel? Especially the fact that I hate and not sure of that you recently turned 20.
Well, that's right. I actually recently turned 20. Something that I gathered, the confidence finally to talk about my age, because I haven't. But it feels... It really doesn't, feel any way, to be honest. And that's because I have had the privilege of nobody looking at me as the youngest. It's basically just a title. But when you come into the professional space, how I'm treated is not really as the youngest, and that's why most of the times I have quite an interesting view about age, and that's especially when I got into the professional space. Sometimes I was telling one of my friends to say sometimes I actually even forget my age. And that's because I don't really like to think about it and think of it that I'm the youngest and put it in my mind. I really bring it maybe just out there to help inspire other people, other young minds, to say you could still do your best at anything you set your mind to, no matter your age. But when I'm down to work, I don't really, think about age. And I really appreciate the people that I'm working with to never, think about, my age. Because I say that because in the professional space, I would really say when it comes to work, age really doesn't matter. And I think I learned it. And that's because when you're in a professional space and you're given the same tasks to do with somebody who's maybe 50 years old, you'll be expected to deliver just as much as they'll expect a 50-year-old to deliver, no matter how young you are. And so at that point, nobody cares about your age. You just have to deliver. And it is such experiences that made me really not focus about my age. I told myself, just do the work, do the best you have to do. And it actually even helps you because you're going to really make sure you put in more work to match up to the standard or the experience that the other person has. And so it's all those thoughts behind that have really not made me ever, really think and feel that way. But it's just a title that I feel might inspire, others, especially,
especially youth out there that are watching you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've heard of these quotes: stay focused, set your eyes on the prize. No, look how the light is. Those to my quotes, and some in Bemba. I don't know how to speak Bemba, so I wouldn't say some Bemba quotes. So, what made you stay focused and motivated in the early stages? Okay,
the early stages of my life?
Yes, the early stages of your career, your life in general, life.
So I'll start with my life. So basically growing up, I don't know, I everything I set my mind to, apparently, I give it my best. And so I grew up in a family of, 4 children. I'm the second born. And, most of the times when I get into something, I grew up in a Seventh-day Adventist church. And I was in a Pathfind in a Seventh-day Youth Adventist, actually. And so growing up, you get into certain programs that require your effort and the like. So I get so committed to certain things that, they help me self-motivate myself. When I turned 20, my mother actually just sent me a message of it was so sweet, of the memories when she would remember me refusing to eat because I will be late for a particular program that I have committed to. If the meal is late, I'm going to say I will be late, so I can't afford to be late. I'll come and eat when I return. And it's all that because I've set my mind to it and I give it my all. So that also helps me self-motivate myself because I know that if I'm given this, my time and everything, it has to result into something. I can't afford just to do this or invest. And so I think that really helps me focus and also just motivate myself. But coming into, my career, something that helped me focus earlier on was I had a very, I think I came into the media industry at a very interesting moment. And I started working in August. I clocked 2 years on 1st August 2024, and that was 2022, 1st August. And the following, month, September, they announced Dinginda Jonah Boyoya as the winner of the BBC Komla Dumont Award. And that was the person I was working with in the same space. And he just won a global award. We were with him in the Diamond TV presenter search, and this is a person that I saw with my eyes. I could meet and greet him. And in a few days and few weeks, he wins a global award and is spoken about across the globe. That really just sparked the belief and focus in me that really, you could really do great at whatever you set your mind to. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter where you are. If somebody that I can say hi to in the morning when I wake up, I go for work and I meet the person, is being recognized on the international stage, then it's very possible for anybody to, achieve what they set their minds to. And I think that was a very interesting experience and so meaningful to me, because it really, really helped me believe my dreams and also focus on, what I had to do in order to at least be the best at my work. And so I think that was one of the most meaningful experiences that I, had to pass through in the early stages of my career that helped me focus and get motivated.
Okay.
I guess that's a takeaway that people should take away, that they need to be focused in whatever they're doing, either education, work, anything you're doing, you must focus and pay attention. Anyways, that's really good. That's really good encouragement right
Yes,
there.
it is.
So another thing I wanted to find out, what made you stay? What principles or values did you carry with you that have helped you until now throughout your journey? What principles did you? It may be from home, the families, the background, but what principles did you carry with you?
Okay, I won't put them in an order, but I will just explain each according to my perception.
Yeah.
So one of the really values and principles that I've carried all along is gratitude. I really treasure gratitude, and that's because I believe that when you're grateful for what you have, God is going to give you more to be grateful for.
Right.
And I have been so grateful to God, and still am, for what He's about to do in the future, in the upcoming years. But growing up, He's been so great. He's been so great and so faithful, and His favor has been upon me that I've been able to, have certain opportunities that are so rare. And so I realized that if I'm not grateful for all this that has been happening, I need to ensure that I'm grateful so God can give me more to be grateful for. And I think it also just gives you a certain level of appreciation of what you have. Because when you're grateful, you understand the value of something that you have. Yeah. And you'll be able to put in a lot more work in order for it to work out. And so you can talk about, education. There were a few opportunities that I had in secondary school. At some point, actually, in my last year, I was privileged to have 3 roles in my secondary school at 14 Apandeli Secondary School. And so you find that this wasn't something that was happening anyhow. You could find each prefect has a particular role. And I'm a very optimistic person, and so I always focus on the positive of whatever situation. Yeah. And so I realized to say, even though I have so many roles, this could help me actually multitask, and that's a thing that I could learn to do even in the future that could help me in some way. And so appreciating that helped me understand the value of that and how rare that is, and also it helped me focus and put in the work that I needed to, so that at the end of it all, I will be able to achieve what I set my mind to. So gratitude is one of the principles and values, but also discipline. Discipline is very important because in as much as you're grateful and you're putting in the work, you need discipline for you to continue doing what you want, even though you don't feel like doing it. Yeah. And one of the things that actually helped me stay disciplined is actually exercising and working out. I am a fitness enthusiast, actually. Oh. Yeah, so I've been a fitness enthusiast since high school. I remember in grade 10, I started, there was a period for COVID-19, and we had to close school, and for 6 months. And that was a period when I told myself I need to get into, at least just working out, just to help my mind focus. Because once you are exercising, there's a lot of things that come through that. It's not just about having a fit body, but you get to, endure the pain. You get to stay disciplined. In the morning when you wake up, you don't want to do the push-ups, and you still have to do them even if you don't feel like. And it's all that sometimes, shifts into other aspects of your life. It also helps you stay disciplined. If you're able to do the 100 push-ups in the morning, even if you don't feel like, you'll be able to get up and go for work even if you don't feel like doing it. So it's all that really, shifts and also helps in other aspects of life. But, I've talked of gratitude, also discipline. And I think the other value and principle that I've carried along is, I think, respect also. Respect for others. I earlier mentioned that I've had the privilege of, I haven't really interacted with my age mates even before back growing up. So I've always had the privilege of being with people who are older than me. And so if you give them respect, it just happens magically. You also get the respect back.
Yes.
And that's why I even said I don't feel like the youngest, employee at Diamond TV, because in as much as you give out respect, you also respect it in a certain way that you won't even feel as if you're young. And so maintaining that also has helped me in various aspects of life. And I think that has also really, really helped me, flourish in various aspects of life. But also, this might actually even be the first, putting God first. I think in throughout my life, I'm a Christian and I believe in God. And in everything that I have and I've attained is all because of God. And putting Him first in everything that I'm able to do, that I've done, has really helped me, because it's come through in ways I could have never imagined.
Yeah.
Even when it seemed that something is not really working out, He just came through and did His thing. It made me actually reach a point where I even if I set my goals, I just tell them to God, to say, Lord, I have these goals.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're going to do them, but you have a certain plan that how you're going to do them. And that is because of one of the experiences, the experience that changed my life, the DPS, the Diamond TV Presenter Search. When I was eliminated in the competition, I actually it was a heartbreak. It was so much of a heartbreak that it took me over a week to get over it, because I had put in my all. And when I thought maybe that's the end of maybe my journey in media, or just for me to start off, and He came through and I was offered an internship, which later, was confirmed into a job, and also, a scholarship for school. So I never imagined, when I was going to the grand finale that night, I just thought, this is the last time I'm going to be seen on TV, and let me just look good and support my friends. And God did His thing. And from that point, I've told Him to say, I know the plan that you have for me, even if it doesn't make sense right now, because that's what I told Him after I got eliminated, to say, Lord, this doesn't make sense, but I trust that you have a plan. And so trusting Him and putting Him first in everything helps me still stand strong, even when things are not going my way, because I know He's still in control. So I think those are some of the principles among many that I've really carried throughout my life.
I guess that's your story of resilience and persistence in the face of adversity.
Thank you.
And also humbleness is very important, because I feel when you humble yourself, like that quote that they say at ikamchila mwenye simame die. So I think also humbleness helps, because it lets you, like you said, respect also comes with humbleness. Because you have to degrade yourself for you to, because there are other people out there, you'll be like, this person, what does he say?
Not degrade. I don't think degrade is the right way.
But lower yourself. Yes, I think lower yourself. Sorry.
No problem. I think I just forgot to mention that, but I think it's also very important.
Yes, it is.
It's very important, because sometimes even if you have, privileges that others don't have, you need to ensure that when you're in the same space, you don't have that pride. You humble yourself, that even others feel comfortable to be around you, no matter how much you have and everything that is opportunities that have come your way. And I think that also really helps you even attain more. So it's very, very key.
Yeah. Okay. So, what advice can you give your younger self who wants to pursue the journey that you are having? Are there any things you should have told yourself, or you should have known when you were younger, and you feel, okay, I would have told my younger self this?
I'm thinking about that. I'm really thinking. It's a good question. The advice that I would give my younger self is, I think, still what I preach to say, or I basically talk about. Whatever you set your mind to, you'll be able to achieve. And that's because it sounds like a very simple statement, but it comes with a lot, because you have to commit yourself to it. You have to you have to put in your time. You have to put in your effort, and resources. So I think that's the advice that I would still give them, to say, whatever you set your mind to, you'll be able to achieve. And once you set your mind to it, just give it your all. Give whatever you set your mind to, everything, because then you'll be able to attain, the level best that you'll be able to achieve. But that comes with a lot more, beef to add to the advice itself. Because then, even if as you're giving it your all, giving all your everything that you set your mind to, you have to ensure that you put in the work too. That's where now the discipline comes in. But I think in a statement, just do your best in everything you set your mind to.
Okay. Yes. So like you said, stay focused, doing your best. So what obstacles did you face when pursuing your journey?
Number one obstacle, and I'm laughing because it really, really was quite an obstacle. But I'm glad that I was able to just get over it. Expectations. Growing up, I've had to deal with a lot of expectations, and I've come to realize that expectations can either break you or make you. And I have been so grateful and humbled to find that most of the moments that I've had to deal with this, God has found a way to help it make me. And I'll take you back to my days in high school. I was at Fortina Pandeli Secondary School. It's a school in Mansa District, Luapula Province. It should be just over 7 years now. And at that particular school, it was growing, and it was basically just coming up. And it reached a point where people expected us to, especially my intake, to do very good. They expected us to put up very good results. And so you would actually see it on people's faces, on teachers' faces, on the headmaster's face, on the director's face, that they really expect you to do good. And it actually reached a point where, the principal was the headmaster who was there in my last year. Every time he sees me, he would, walk past me and say, "I had boy, 6 points." That would be the good morning. And so you just imagine the pressure of expectation that would bring, because that's the talk of the day. Every time he passes past you, no matter what time of the day, he's going to say what he expects from you. And it also went to, the owner of the school, the director himself. Every time he comes to visit the school, he would ask for me. He calls me and he tells me what he expects. And I remember there was a point he told me, "Cosmas, I'm not expecting anything less than 6 points from you. And if ngachashupa, ukampele 7. And those were his exact words from English to Bemba. And at that point, I tell you, I never slept that night because I knew. And, once we're approaching for us to write our exams, and, all that expectation. Back home, luckily enough, my parents didn't tell me what they expected, but I knew that they expected me to do very well because it would have added more pressure. But it's all that expectation that really pushed me to do even more. And it actually reached a point where I stopped sleeping, but I would, take a nap for hours or two, but it sort of pushed me to do better than making me get scared to achieve what I was supposed to achieve. And so I think that experience really, really built me, because I learned to handle pressure, even when moments, when I don't do good. There were moments when we will write tests that I didn't prepare for it. I don't do very well. I would still get myself back on my feet and tell myself to say, there are a lot of people that are looking up to you, even students, and you find grade 8, they just believe so much in you that you're going to do great. And you think about the disappointment that will come if you don't do your best. It's going to be so sad. So that always pushed me. So I think the challenge and obstacle that I really came through or came across is the challenge or the obstacle of expectations. And I'm so humbled and grateful and glad that, I really worked towards at least using it for the best. Yes.
Okay, so those were the only obstacles.
Well, no, that's just one of them. If I'm to think of another obstacle is basically also being young, being found in a space of people who are older than you. You are expected to basically match their standard. But that also comes into expectations. But if I'm to separate them, it's basically just you doing your best in whatever environment you are in. And I think that mentality has just been in me for quite some time since I was young. And you would find that moments, I'm trying to think of an experience I could give as an example. When it comes out, I'll be able to explain. But every time you are in a space of people, be it work, be it academics, be it anything that you're expected to do, you need to ensure that you perform very well, even though other people are looking down on you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another example I remember, I'll take you back in school because I'm not very old and most of my experience was in high school.
Yeah,
I just completed high school 3 years ago, close to 3 years. So most of my experiences were in there. And so we had a debate. We had a debate club, and I was privileged to be president in high school. And so we actually started. It reached a provincial level such that schools competed, and it went to district level. We won. It went to district level. We won, and it was provincial now. And I was the youngest on the panel. It was a panel of grades 12s, all grade 12s, and I was the only grade 10. And once you go to a competition, obviously, schools and how students would behave, they would, look at you in a certain way and think, they're not going to do anything. And they might look down on you and think you're not going to do your best. Exactly. But I think that's one of the obstacles I faced. But I think it really pushed me to give them a surprise. And I think, they really got the surprises.
Yeah.
Because I was actually privileged to be named the best better in the province at that particular point.
Wow.
Yeah, so thank you. So it's all that, but luckily enough, all the obstacles that I've been able to face have really turned out to build me. And that's one thing I'm grateful to God for. So I think really being looked down on because of maybe how young you are, or how you look, I think that's one of the obstacles I faced. But they really turned out to be very well. Maybe another example I could give in church now. I told you about Pathfinder. It's an association, and so there I was growing up. There's what we call Adventurer, Pathfinder, and Senior Youth. So Adventurer is from 6 years to 10, and Pathfinder is from 10 to 15. So there's a Pathfinder squad where you are required to march and do drills. I was growing up 7 years old. For people who saw me grow, they told me that I started commanding myself when I was 2. That's funny enough. But but I started marching. My elder brother was a commander by then. But I tried to give it my best such that I was actually, when I reached 8 years old, I was shifted into the Pathfinder when initially somebody is supposed to reach 10. And so I was put in the Pathfinder squad at 8 years old. And so we'd go for competitions, and when we're put on the squad competing against other districts in the province, you'll be the only youngster in the squad. And other squads will look at you and they'll be like, what is he going to do? Exactly. Kai chaka. And they don't know what to say. That was our charm, actually. And every time we started marching, the commander is going to give his commands. And we're going to do good. And they'll find that the same Akaiche is the person who's performing very well. And so that always pushed me. When I see people look down on me, I'm like, I gotta give them something. And they just have to see why I'm the youngest here. So that always pushed me to do the best. And you'll find that at the end of the competition, I'm given an award as the best, drill demonstrator. And such that by 10 years old, I was now the commander of the club there. But it's all those, I think that's one of the obstacles also I had to really deal with. But I might not say many obstacles. That's because every time I focus on the positive. So sometimes even when I come across an obstacle, I don't focus on the negative, so I don't think about it so much and I easily forget that, but focus on whatever that situation, whatever positive thing I could pick from that situation.
Yeah, that's actually good, because thinking positive is actually helpful. So, Lusaka is for business, right?
Yeah.
No relationship, no sharing. So, can you say anything or is there any time in your life you had a relationship, or that was an obstacle to your journey? It contributed. Like, uyu seme sina mkumane uyu. Seme nilipaja. Conchito, I sacrificed, that type of thing. So did you face any relationship obstacle, or one of the obstacles was a relationship that you were in?
Yeah, funny enough, you just reminded me. I actually did, and that was still in high school. Yes, exactly. So it's a very funny story. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't as you have explained it, because that will make the person seem bad.
Yeah.
But this is how it worked. I actually told myself I won't get in a relationship because I need to focus. Mm-hmm. When I was in boarding school throughout my 5 years of high school, from grade 8 to grade 12. But in grade 8 and grade 9, I told myself I need to focus. In grade 10, I was like, well, let me try this thing out. And so I got in a relationship with a certain girl at my school. And I think that was in the first term. Mm-hmm. And the new students, I was the only returning student at that particular time. Mm-hmm. Yes, and all the others were new in grade 10. So we started, making friendships, and I got into one. But as, days approached, as we, days for exams approached, that is, in grade 12, as we continued growing in grade 10, the expectations started hitting me. People started telling me how much they expected me to perform very well at grade 12. And academic-wise, mm-hmm. I realized the time that, I would spend, in that relationship and talking, and maybe my friends would spend, I told myself, there's a big challenge ahead of me. Yeah. I need to really focus. So if I'm to achieve what everybody expects, I need to sacrifice, and I need to use that time to study. And actually made the difficult decision to say, I think I have to I have to let go in order for me to focus, because then I would just dedicate my time to study every time. Yeah. So at that point, actually, it didn't really seem, it didn't make sense to anyone, because I was thinking about it at the back of my mind. And for me to come to such a decision, I had already thought thoroughly about it. And so when it came to, the point where I made that decision and I explained it to her, it really seemed like I just played with that time. Exactly, yeah. And, especially how girls are. I'm not discriminating, but how schools are. Yeah. When she goes back to her dormitory, they're going to make a whole story about it. They'll be like, nah, he just wasted your time. He just plays with girls and the like. But there was a lot of talk actually around it. And if I wasn't so solid on my decision, it would have really thrown me off. Yeah. But glad enough, I knew what I was doing, because nobody was hearing the expectations that I was being told. Mm-hmm. If I'm told to say I needed 6 points from you, nobody was around. It was only the person who's saying and me. So they didn't know what was going on. Mm-hmm. And they didn't know the pressure that I had upon me. Mm-hmm. And they also didn't know the sleepless nights I was spending. So I told myself, no matter what people will say, I know the reason why I made this decision. And so, because if I continue, it will be an obstacle to me performing to my very best, because I will think about the time I'll be chatting with her instead of studying if things don't go well. Yeah. So I said, let me use that time to dedicate myself. I think that's where I set my priorities straight. And it worked out pretty well, actually. It worked out really well, such that later on, I actually reached out to the person after school, just because I felt I owed them an explanation. They didn't understand why. Yes. I did explain why I let go. I just told them, unfortunately, I have to let go at this point. So I actually told them, the reason why I did this is because I had to deal with, my goals at that particular point. A lot was expected from me, and I needed to use my time to my very best. Every minute counted at that point. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I had to let go, and so I could focus on this. And then they understood. Then I had the peace of mind.
Yeah, that's great.
So how do you handle criticism or negative feedback, and how did it help you?
So when it comes to criticism, I handle criticism very well, actually. Mm-hmm. And that's because I believe, when people criticize you, there's constructive criticism. You have to get the good out of it. And also I think being optimistic has helped. Mm-hmm. And that's because, every time, even if you tell me something bad, I'm going to focus on the positive. Yeah. So that also really helps me. So I've learned over the years, to handle criticism very well. But also that's because when it comes to negative comments, even in school, there are rumors, what we call rumors in high school. And for people that are in school and that are in the range of my age, you understand. So there were a lot of rumors that were going around. Sometimes when you hear your own rumor, you'll be so surprised. You'll be like, oh, how could this be possible? Yeah, so, and you hear rumors circulating. but you've never even thought of yourself doing such a thing. And that, if you would find that the moment you handle that very well, such that you don't maybe reply to it or you don't react to it, and that was my best move, because every time a rumor is brought up, people expect a response from you and they expect you to react in a certain way. But I wouldn't give them that. I wouldn't give them that reaction, and it would always hurt them inside, and they'll make another rumor. And it always, handling that really helped me, also just be strong, have a strong ground of what I stand on. And so, such that even if somebody says something bad about me, it won't affect me. You would tell me something bad and I'm 2 minutes or a minute away from going on air, you won't even realize that this person was told something. I'll just go on TV, lights on, camera, action, and I'll just be myself. And, later on, then I might be able to deal with it. But when it comes to criticism itself, in the field that we are in, you don't know everything. And I had to learn the job that I'm doing. I had to learn what I'm doing on the job. And that's because, and so you find that a lot of people are criticizing you. They're giving you constructive criticism. They're like, you didn't do good here. You were supposed to do this way. Yeah. If you don't take criticism very well, you're going to think they're jealous of you. You're going to think, you're going to think all the negative things. But if you handle criticism well, and I took it as advice, and so you'd find they tell you were supposed to do this, I'll be like, thank you so much. And I would actually ask people to tell me, because others failed to criticize you because they just hold back. But I for people who are close to me, I open up to them to say, if you see something wrong, just tell me. Don't hold back, because that also helps me. You might be going out of the way and you don't realize, but that helps you, get back on the path. So I've over the years, I've learned to handle criticism very well, and even the negative comments sometimes may hurt, but you need to find a way to handle them and get the positive out of it.
Yeah. So when you were in school, you said you had to cut off your relationship because you thought it's an obstacle, or maybe it's obstructing you, right?
Correct.
So what would you say to the younger viewers, the youth out there who are watching? Should they focus on school and start a relationship?
Okay, well, I didn't say that. It's the interviewers that are saying that. But let me put it this way. I think it's best to understand yourself, be on a journey of self-discovery, know how best you perform in whatever situation. For me, I told you, when I set my mind to something, I make sure I focus. Yeah. And at that particular point, I was still young, and all I had to do is focus on one particular thing. Yeah. It wasn't a point where I needed to marry or get in a relationship for me to marry. Yes. Then it's a priority. But then the priority was school and getting good grades. And I was actually aiming to break a record at my school and become the first person to get 6 points. Yes. I didn't achieve that. And lucky enough, I managed to become the first person to get 7 points. And so it's all that helped me. And I'm saying this so just others could be inspired out of humbleness. And so it's all that helped me know my priorities to say, I think a relationship isn't the priority at the moment. School is. Yes. And once I do this, it's going to last for a lifetime. And that record is yet to be broken, actually. Yeah. And so I knew to say it's gonna stick around for a while. So I needed to set my priorities straight. So for those that are in school, you should know your priorities.
Yeah, exactly.
If the relationship that you get into starts affecting your number one priority, which is getting good grades, then you have to find a way to work around it.
Might as well.
Exactly. I'm not inviting people to abandon relationships. No, it's very important for your growth, because you don't, all this comes up with growth and you don't have to skip a stage. And so, it might be important for your growth, but it's important also to know your priorities and work around them according to how you know your priorities and how you know yourself to work. So I think it's just an issue of setting your priorities and not letting anything come in between that. But you could also multitask growing up, because now I can't put away a relationship and say I'm now focusing on this. I can multitask. I know how to handle both and all that. So it comes with also growth. But that would be my advice to them.
Okay. So how do you handle pressure? And how do you balance that? Because you're a TV presenter and journalist, right? Yes. And probably you are still in school, right?
Yes, I'm in school.
Yes. So the pressure that comes with school and being a presenter, how do you handle that pressure?
Right. So when it comes to pressure, I think it's also important to learn how to handle the pressure, and also it's as you get on the journey of self-discovery, you get to learn how best to handle the pressure. It's a lot of pressure, by the way. Before I got into school, because I started working before getting into school, and so when I decided to say I needed to get into school, I asked around to say, for people who are doing both, to say, how do you handle this? And they told me, they were blunt about it, to say it's not easy. And I decided, let me go for it. And I think you just need to find your way to work around it. And when you talk about handling both, you need to ensure that you set times for each, because both have to thrive. None has to suffer, and you have to do best in both. So I think for me, I handle the pressure in a way that I just make sure I, create time for both. And that's why I really treasure my time. And that's because...
And I have a personal question.
No problem. So I treasure my time so much. I think one of my close friends will attest to this, because there are moments when he just wants to sit and just, hang around. But I'll be like, you're wasting my time, because I'm supposed to do something, and my life is so packed even though I'm young. So I treasure each minute. So I've separated my time in a way that I'm able to do work, because work is first priority in this case. And I do, part-time school. So I make sure I do my work, do it good. When I'm satisfied, then I focus on my books too, because I know the test's coming up. And I have to ensure that I continue, progressing with good grades. So I just make sure I set time for each of my priorities. If something comes in, I also create time for it. But the key is time, and just knowing how to work around your time with all that. I think that also helps.
So you need to divide your time.
Yeah.
Correct.
Very real. Okay, so since you're in school, right?
Yes, yeah.
And you're also a presenter.
Yes, yeah.
Are you also in a relationship?
That was a personal question.
Yeah, that's a personal question. Because we want to know how you handle your pressure.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm not.
So you can't handle.
No, not that I can't handle it. I can handle it, actually. I'm just not in a relationship. I've just decided not to be in one at the moment. Yes, but I can handle it. As I said, it comes with growth. Now, I can multitask with a lot of things, and a lot is going on in my life. And so I am able to handle all this.
So for the young youth watching right now, for those who can't handle, or those people who can't multitask, it's better you prioritize one thing first.
Well, I think I wouldn't say, when we say multitasking, it could be understood differently.
Yeah.
Because multitasking is doing the same things at the same time. Yeah. But in this case, it's a little different. It's different. I just use that term maybe just to help people understand, because you're not telling me when you're working, you're supposed to have a personal chat with your girlfriend or in a relationship. Not at all. You're going to find time for that. And that's why it's very possible to work around all this, because it's different time. You just have to apportion your time with it. And so it's all that really helps, also get know how to work around time. So my advice is not to prioritize one thing, especially at this point after school, because you're still growing and you have to get into certain things. But it's just important to know how to apportion your time for each, such that everything thrives at the same time and doesn't affect the other. So knowing how to work around that is very, very key.
Okay, that's true. What was your reaction towards winning the Diamond Presenter stage?
Okay, so the winner actually is my close friend, George Samuel Piri.
Okay.
He's the one who won. I didn't win.
Oh.
Yeah. And, if he hears this, he's going to tell me to say, that's why you lost. Yeah, so sometimes we get to laugh and he teases me. So that's why I won the competition. Yeah. But he's a very good guy, a very good friend of mine. And so I think my reaction to getting the job on the grand finale, I cried. I was just taking a look at the video on my birthday. Not on my birthday, when I clocked 2 years in the media industry. That was 1st August 2024. I took time to watch it, because every time I watch that video, it helps me refocus and helps me get back in that mood to say, this doesn't happen on a daily basis. It's a rare opportunity that you got. And so you have to make the best of it no matter what.
That's true.
And so every time I watch the video, it helps me, refocus. So my reaction at that particular moment, I couldn't believe what was happening. And funny enough, I've never explained the details of what was happening in that particular point to most people. And I have, growing up, I've been watching the America's Got Talent. Been watching these competitions. And there will be moments where they'll give somebody a golden buzzer and they explain their story, where they came from. And they would like cry. It would be so emotional. Sometimes I get more emotional so too. So I'd be in my room watching somebody get a golden buzzer, get a lifetime opportunity, looking at where they've come from and what they've been able to pass through. And when they cry, I would also cry while watching on my phone. I'm like, God, can this just happen to me one day? And that moment felt like a smaller version of America's Got Talent and all the opportunities that people...
want something.
Yes. So when I was called, as I told you that day, we were called after my elimination. That was about 3 weeks. And I told myself, well, I think this is the last time we're going to be seen on TV. Just look good, wear your best suit, and just go support your friends. And once I went there, I was told, but at the back of my mind, actually, I was praying to God because I put in a lot of work. That's why I even had a heartbreak. Because I put away all my skills, and growing up, I had accumulated a lot of skills. I put away art, I put away music, I put away everything that I was doing. I started focusing on learning how to speak better, learning how to do my work better. And such that to the point when we were going for the grand finale, I was praying to God to say, Lord, even like award or recognition of the most disciplined in the competition. So it was at the back of my mind, was just like, probably it's just recognition. So when Mr. Mwansa stepped up and they said, before I, call the top two up front, I have some CEO announcements to make. And, my heart was like, Lord, if this is the point, Lord, you have to perform a miracle. I didn't know I was coming, but... I just prayed that, something happens. And when he said there was a show favorite, Cosmas, I was like, I'll just have to stand and people clap and it's done. I stood and I had come up. I'm like, probably maybe it's just in front and they clap for me. And he told me, because, I was seeing him as a tough man in the competition because of, our experience. And so him saying the words that he said to me at that particular point meant a lot. He started telling me to say, I've watched you throughout the competition and I've seen, what you're able to do. And he told me, if you're interested in the media business, he gave me the job. And after he gave me the job, I couldn't believe it. I was like, God, this is you now. This is your plan now. I didn't trust you, but it didn't make sense, but I trusted you. Now this is your plan. And what made me cry is when he said, I see the potential of you becoming a great journalist. That hit me hard because this is a man who's made it in the media industry. He knows the obstacles that are in there. He knows what it takes for somebody to be a great journalist. And when he says he sees a potential, meaning it's not just any light thing. It really meant so much to me at that particular point, and I couldn't hold back. I cried. Not knowing that there are other people who got so emotional too and, related to my story, and they also shed tears. And I didn't know that was happening by then. I just cried. I couldn't hold back. And, the ladies in the competition, when they saw me cry, they were like, oh, that made me cry even more. I was like, I couldn't believe. And the moment I was cleaning my tears, I saw a hug. He was offering me. I was like, a hug from Mr. Mwansa? Because then it's like how we view the president. And you just see, you view him so high there. And it's a rare opportunity. I was like, oh my God. So it meant so much to me. My reaction at that particular point, I couldn't just take it in. I couldn't believe what God had done. It was so big at that particular, because I knew that my life changed at that moment. And getting off the stage, I find Jonah in tears. I was, because Jonah, I also viewed him as a tough guy. So, we couldn't believe. I was like, oh my God, is this how much, my story has touched? Exactly, has touched, many people could relate. And it made me even cry more. I look this side, I find Tapiwa also coming. I'm like one of my colleagues. I'm like, oh my God. It was so emotional. It related with a lot of people, and that was really the highlight of it. I knew it changed my life at that particular moment, and I understood it's a rare opportunity that doesn't come every other day. And from that point, I knew I had to make the best of it. So it was a very meaningful moment for me. And every time I watch the video and get back to it, I refocus and tell myself I have to do more.
Before we end the show, something I want to
Play.
Do you
Okay.
know how to dance, Rizal?
Oh my goodness.
no.
Are we dancing? Oh no.
Okay, so I'm not dancing.
Okay.
So I'm sure you've heard these games, dare or double dare, right? So you pick one because we can't say truth or dare. We know everyone picks truth. So yes, would like to ask double or double dare, deal or no deal?
Well, is that a pretty interesting because you never know what's coming.
Yeah,
Let me go for one there.
one there. Okay. So I heard when you were saying your music, you stopped. So I'm sure there's like a music thing in you.
Yes.
Yeah. So we want to hear
Oh my
the voice.
Yeah.
Don't you want to hear the voice?
I do actually.
Yeah, I want to hear you. I don't know if it's singing or rapping. All I know it's music. That's what I want to hear. So
Okay.
we dare you to do something.
Give me a song that you'd like me to do, if I know it. That would be your challenge.
First we love music.
Yeah. So give me.
Saka 100%.
Should I give you the Zambian song?
I think
Sing your favorite song.
yeah.
Favorite. I have a challenge with favorites, so I have tried a lot, but let me think of one. There's this song that really means a lot to me. It's titled "Glorious." I love the words in it. I knew it some time back, and I was just singing it because I loved the melody. But at some point, somebody sent it to me, and they told me it's one of the meaningful songs that they found. So I paid attention to the words, and I could resonate to the words.
Glorious by
I've forgotten the name, but you'll be able to know it when I sing.
yeah, okay.
It is so funny.
We are so ready for you.
I wasn't ready for you when it comes to this. Okay. There are times when you might feel aimless and can't see the places where you belong, and those around you who start to wake up to the sounds that are in their hearts. It's so amazing what we're all creating. It's like a symphony. Just keep listening, and pretty soon you start to figure out your part. Everyone plays a piece, and there are melodies in each one of us. Oh, it's glorious. Thank you. I must have added the second part of the stanza, the lyrics in the second stanza, and brought them to the first. I mixed them up, but I really love the song a lot because it talks about you finding your purpose.
You should also think of Rainbow.
Yeah, you should.
At some particular point, I will. But yeah, that's a song that really resonates with me because it talks about finding your purpose and how if everyone found their purpose, we could make a beautiful symphony of such that even once you find your purpose and you start, pursuing it, others are going to realize their light to say, I also carry this light. And because you're shining your light, they'll also start shining their light.
Yeah. Okay, so what's your last words to our viewers there, our adults, our youths out there who are listening? And what's your last word for them?
Okay.
Last step
okay. I think it's sometimes hard to give your last words because that's maybe the most meaningful part.
Yeah.
But I give Monday motivations on my page, so you'll find a lot of content. But I think I'll close with this poem that I came across while I was young. It was in the movie. There's this movie that titled The Spelling Bee. Yes, there's a poem. Yes, exactly. The entire poem that says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And most of the times we ask ourselves, who am I to be gorgeous, talented, brilliant, fabulous? But the question is, who are you not to be? We're born to make manifests to the glory of God that is within us. And by letting our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. And so my last words to the people that are watching is, do not hold back from letting your light shine. And, my purpose has been to inspire others, especially young minds. And so do not hold back from letting your light shine, no matter your age, no matter where you come from, no matter whatever situation that you're in, let your light shine, because by letting your light shine, you unconsciously give others also permission to do the same, and they gain the confidence to also let their light shine. And so you won't realize, you'll find a lot of people are motivated by what you're doing. And so that will be my last words. But also don't forget to do your best in everything you set your mind to.
All right. Beautiful. Would like to say thank you to Mr. Cosmas Mulenga for joining us on today's podcast. We are really humbled. And I hope your story has educated young youths out there, young people out there, and all those people who want to multitask, who want to do so many other things. And we are hoping for you guys to join us on this journey as we embark with great stories like these ones. Thank you very much.
I'm so humbled, actually. This is my first interview, and I'm glad to be here.
I hope you remember this one.
I definitely will, because it's the first time I've shared my story to the public, and I hope, and also almost a few details that, I might not be able to share on my platforms, but I'm so grateful for having me. It's a pleasure, and I hope this story inspires a lot more out there.
Yes. Welcome. Thank you very much. We'll call it a wrap from here.